right, guys. You know what time it is. It's chunky boy time. I'm a big boy. This is a big it's another fat video. Fat acceptance is imploding by obese to beast. I'm interested. It's probably true. By the way, guys, I'm doing well on my health journey. I haven't been focusing on losing weight. I know you're gonna say, well, you need to. I was like, you're right. But I've been focusing on making better habits. My wife and I have been consistently going to the gym at least 4 days every week. I've been doing some cardio and weights. I'm feeling better. My blood sugar wasn't good this morning, but it was a lot better than it's ever been. We're at about a 180, which is high. But last time I went to the doctor, it was like 210. So we're getting it down. Anyway, want to give you that update. Let's watch the video.
About an article that was sent to me a few times over like Instagram, Twitter, just different social media places. It seems to be that people kind of wanted to hear my opinion on this this article. So without further ado, let's just get into it. This is the article right here. It is from The Cut from February 10th. And it goes on to say, I never asked to be the face of a movement. TikTok made Remy Bader, a body positive influencer, behind the scenes. She struggled with an ED. And this is a photo of her right here. So it goes on to say, I started posting on TikTok in September 2020. I'd lost my job in the music industry a few months earlier, and my dad, who works in women's fashion, encouraged me to join a small agency as a curve model. It was fine, but I still had all this downtime and felt like I was losing my mind. So I started messaging influencers, asking to work for them for free. A lot of influencers would say yes to that, which is where when I came across the curvy fashion side of TikTok, I was watching these girls who looked like me or were bigger than me doing fashion hauls, and I noticed that they only showed the good clothes that fit, clothes that they looked amazing in. That was fine, but for me, trying on clothes had never been fun. I always had been curvier girl. I was size 10 to 12 growing up, and my mom literally had to force me to go shopping because I hated it so much. I can kind of relate to that. When I was, growing up, I was always kind of overweight, and so I always wished that I looked certain ways in clothes, and there was like different styles. Like when I was younger, people just started wearing skinny jeans, and you weren't gonna catch me dead in them, even though I wanted to wear them really bad.
Yeah, I get that. I mean, I never really wanted to wear skinny jeans, but it's not because I was fat. It's because my balls are so big. I'm cursed with huge, voluptuous, magnificent testicles that I couldn't really, I couldn't really wear it. It's unfortunate. I think that's horrible. That's my body positivity issue.
It wasn't going to happen, right? And so I remember having these thoughts of like, I wish I could dress a certain way. It just doesn't work for me, right? And so I'm sure a lot of people related to that. One day I got a package of clothing in the mail. I think it was either Nasty Gal or Pretty Little Thing, and I decided to make a video of myself trying everything on. The clothes were based on my measurements, and in the video I was laughing in the mirror, both at myself and how bad most of these clothes looked on me. It was for fun. I never thought anyone other than my friends would see it, but the video went viral. I mean, it was viral in my mind. I don't know if it got 10,000 likes. Still, I was sending it to friends like, wait, guys, this is happening. That's when I started making what I call realistic clothing hauls. I try on clothes that were supposed to be my size and just poke fun at how ridiculous they looked.
That's a cool idea. I think that's fun and kind of cute. No? I mean, that's a nice idea. It's unfortunate, man, because like there are such like there are aspects of the body positivity movement that have gone so far, but I still go on TikTok and I just see a fat girl exist, like not even doing anything other than like being fat and like doing something, and people in the comments are just like busting on their weight, and it's like, dude, come on, like I saw like it goes so far where like you see a fat girl dancing. Like, fat girl can dance and she'll still get bullied for being overweight. It's like fat person exercising. Like, it's never enough. It's frustrating. And so there's still a justifiable reason that like the fat acceptance movement exists, because it's supposed to be about accepting the fact that you're fat and like in a way where like it's okay you exist while trying to better yourself. It's about how like you don't need to bully people just based on like their virtue of their existence. Like, oh, they're fat. Oh, haha. Like you don't have to, you can think whatever you want in your mind, but you don't have to post those comments, because all you're trying to do is break somebody else down to build yourself up. Everybody's going through their own like unique struggle, maybe not unique, but that's it, man. And it's like, just sometimes you could just keep it quiet. I'm your favorite trans YouTuber. Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
The videos went nuts. My comment section was full of people saying things like, oh my God, I feel this. Wow, that's so true. That's how I've always felt in the dressing room. So basically, this is kind of where I think we see where the, the influencer part kind of starts. You see something that works, and then you decide either to be like, oh, that's cool, but I don't want to continue making that content, or I'm going to double down. And a lot of times people double down because it is fun to have a lot of engagement and have a lot of comments and people agreeing with you. As much as you might hate influencer culture, that stuff is addicting, right? And so a lot of people are like, all right, I'm going to make content like this. And it seems
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with making content people like. The problem is that when there's a couple problems that could arise. It's one, when you start making content that people like and you hate it and you start having a bad relationship with your content in a way that frustrates you. And two, if you stop having honest takes because people like particular content that you're making. This is usually like a bigger issue inside of Probably a more commentary-esque thing where you get like completely hit by audience capture. It can be very difficult, like once you're like on one side of the aisle, it's very difficult to gravitate towards the other side of the aisle without losing like your entire fan base. So a lot of people get like hit by audience capture. I think that like somebody like Just Pearly Things is completely like beholden by audience capture at this point, and it won't be until she loses all her popularity that she'll like finally admit that she fucking hates herself.
Seems like that's what she kind of did. Double down and is like, all right, I'm going to start making content like this. Okay. I started uploading around once a day. Bro, that's gnarly, but I'm just lazy. The hauls were the most popular thing, but sometimes I'd sprinkle in more personal videos. I talk about my anxiety or my struggle with binge eating sometimes. Something I started dealing with right before the pandemic. I gained a bunch of weight, in part because of the binging. And by the time I'd lost my job in 2020, I was a size 14 to 16. To be honest, I was in denial about it for a while. I was still walking around in clothes that were too tight because I did not want to shop for new ones. So in a way,
I feel that it's funny because like, I remember being young and I've always been overweight, even when I was athletic. Like I used to do like a lot of like shit, like I go to the YMCA and stuff, and I would always do sports and whatnot. But I was always like overweight. I remember when I would go to school though, I was self-conscious about my weight, and even in the summer, I would wear like a fleece jacket because I felt so self-conscious about showing my body like in a regular shirt that like I for some reason I felt like I looked better in the jacket. It's fucking crazy, man. It's just fucking nuts. It's something else.
These hauls helped me take something frustrating and add a bit of humor to it. I know what it's like to wear clothes that are probably not your size anymore. Over the next few months, next 3 months, my audience continued to grow. People were coming out of nowhere. By January 2021, I had millions of followers. That's crazy growth. When I'd call out these famously thin centric bands, they'd reach out to me. They'd give me clothes, and some of them would even ask me to consult for them. Right now, I'm consulting with Victoria's Secret Pink to help it fit and expand sizing. But as my following grew, I started getting haters. A lot of it was just negative comments from random men or people that were just like, "You're fat. We don't want to see this." I'd get a lot of fat B, fat whale.
Yeah, I mean, like you could just turn it off. You know what I mean? Like you don't have to like the content, but it's just rude to like be like, "Oh, ew, disgusting. That's gross." And it doesn't make fat people feel any better. If anything, you're just giving more power to like the fat acceptance movement because you're being so toxic. Like, I'm just saying, man, it doesn't help anybody. Like, you're not bullying somebody out of being fat. You're just making them feel shittier, and they're just going to copy it anymore, and they're just not going to care. Like you're not being helpful. Like, there's bad people on both sides. Let's be fucking real here, okay?
People are
the proper way is, if you want people to lose weight, is to not constantly make it so personal and be like, look at this fat person on TikTok. You need to lose weight. You need to, unless they're saying some dumb shit about how it's like LOL, like poggers be fat. But just have the general conversation in like an intelligent, like non-antagonistic way where you're like, hey, listen, if you're overweight, like it's not healthy for you. Speak generally. You don't need to speak to a specific person. You don't need to, like, every fucking fat person that exists doesn't need to be like another fucking conversation about fat, like being too fat. You don't have to bring it up every time you see a fat person. Okay, you could just be like, hey, listen, in general, if you're overweight, it's unhealthy. It's not good for you. Here are some protocols that you can operate with to help you lose weight. Like for me, I would say focus on building healthier habits rather than trying to lose weight. The weight loss will come, of course. Do things like have more vegetables with your meals. They're more filling and it's more nutritious. Try to stay away from sugars. Don't drink your calories. Focus on making better choices than perfect choices. You know what I mean? Like, I always say this, like I used to go to McDonald's and I'd get 3 cheeseburgers, plain with a 20-piece chicken nugget, and then like an apple fritter or a McFlurry and a large fry. And now when I go to McDonald's, I'll get a, crispy chicken sandwich with bacon and cheese. Is that a good thing to eat? No. But is it better compared to what I was eating? Yes. And so, like, there's still a level of, I would say, probably like some kind of like addiction. Sometimes you want to eat something really delicious, But if you go from like eating like a fucking slob to eating, grilled chicken, you're not going to sustain. Whereas like the other day, my wife and I went to the mall and we went to the Chinese place at the mall. So they have like options where you can get like anywhere from 1 to 3 different like proteins and then a rice. So I got no rice, and then I got chicken broccoli and bourbon chicken. So is there sugar in the sauce? Yeah. Is that good? No. Is it better than even having the rice? Absolutely. I made a better choice. That's the kind of stuff that you want, that you need to like hear and engage with and say, that if you actually care if people lose weight, that's the kind of shit that you'll talk about.
Assholes. But I also started getting backlash from the body positive community. What a surprise. Last year, I worked with Revolve to expand its size chart up to 3X. We changed the whole size chart, but even then, the whole plus size community on TikTok went against me, saying things like, I can't believe she's getting credit for this, and she's only going up to a 3X. So I went back to Revolve right before the launch, and we ended up pushing to 4X at the very last minute. Still, people in the community weren't happy. You're not even talking about brands that are truly size inclusive. They'd say, why are these publications and people looking...
Well, isn't she trying to bring size inclusivity to brands that aren't size inclusive? That's like really important. There's a lot of like big girls who want to, like, listen, big people, if we feel better about ourselves, like, it's going to have an increased chance to help us lose weight, because we're just going to feel better. We're going to feel more comfortable going into spaces. Like, going to the gym can be frustrating because sometimes people will make fun of you, or sometimes you might think people are making fun of you, right? So if you can like build that self-confidence, you know, because whether they are making fun of you, in some instances they do, or they're not making fun of you, in some instances they're not, you still need the self-confidence to overcome that and take a deep breath and go, who cares if they're criticizing me? Feeling good about yourself and in your body is the first step to doing that. Going to the gym and hating yourself, and then like other people are hating you, like you think everybody else hates your body too, it's not helpful. That confidence it's destructive to not have that confidence. That's really what it's all about.
Looking at you as this great plus size creator. So again, it's like one of those things, it's damned if you do, damned if you don't. It's kind of like people are just going to see something to be upset about. I've kind of always felt like it's obviously good for brands to expand their sizes, but also like, why don't we just have brands that exclusively cater to people that are bigger? The thing is like, it sucks when those brands are also premium, because now it's like even more expensive because it's like different, and it's
you're fat, so it's more expensive.
Catering to people that you normally don't, and so the prices are insane, right?
Which makes sense.
Sucks, but I don't know. It's like one of those things, you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. Because a lot of times people are like, well, I don't want to buy from them because for so many years they wouldn't make clothes my size. It's like, all right, that's something that happened with Lulu. I remember a lot of people talking about that. Yeah, it sucks. Another reason why certain people in the plus size community weren't on my side is because I will openly talk about being unhappy with my body. That's a no-no. When I say I'm not...
I think that's a really positive thing, to talk about your negatives in a healthy way. You know, like, I think it's really destructive the way that we've been conditioned to talk about our unhealthy, like the bad things about us on social media, is like we're either crying or you just keep them completely silent. But I think the right way to do it is to talk about it from like an educated perspective. Like, yeah, you know, I used to feel this way about this, or I feel this way about this, and here's how I manage that feeling. There was a person who came into like the fan Q&A the other day, and they were older, and they're like expressing how they were frustrated with their job and this and the other thing. And my wife came on, and she's like, you know, I have similar frustrations where I sometimes feel, you know, upset with my job. And what I've been learning to do is focus on the little things. And my wife's like, you know, she's like, I buy, and the one thing that she said is like, I get the purple potatoes because they just make me happy. And it sounds so simple and trivial, but when you're an adult, especially, or anybody really, and like you're struggling to feel good about your life, sometimes focusing on these small things that just make you smile a little bit are so important. It's like, you know what I mean? And like, that's like the intelligent way to talk about something like that, I feel. Is like, just like that, like, yeah, you know, like this helped me feel better. I had the purple potatoes today and it made me feel like nice. It's like, oh yeah, that's good. That's a good message to talk about, you know?
Not the happiest right now, or I don't feel great. Some people will say Remy's fatphobic. I've even been criticized for having too many skinny friends, but I've gained probably 80 pounds over the past few years. I'm only 27, and I'm getting a lot of health problems.
True.
That's huge.
Happens
27,
when you get older.
You're having a lot of health problems.
That's the thing, man. That's when your body starts to get hit. When I turned like 24 or 25, that's when like your obesity catches up with you. If you're young and you're like, oh, I don't have any health problems, consider moving towards a healthier diet, because like it creeps up on you. It doesn't even creep up on you. It kind of hits you at a certain point where you're fucked. It just hits you hard as hell, man. It hits you hard as hell, you know. Try not to be too, you know, always go to your doctor. Make sure you're getting your levels checked with your doctor. If your doctor says your health is like in a good spot, that's good. That means you don't have to like rush, but you should always work to be at a healthier weight. It doesn't matter if you're like a little overweight according to like BMI. You're 30 pounds overweight, who cares? But like if you're 250 pounds, 300 pounds, at the very least, just practice having better health, like healthier habits. Go to like the gym and go for walks, and you know, don't drink your calories still, even if you're not focused on losing weight. Because let's say you get to a point where you know you do become unhealthy, you hit 30 years old, but you've already developed, like, you go to the gym every day for a 20-minute walk and you're doing healthier things already, it's easier to push it a little bit further. And that's the mentality my wife and I have been operating on. It's like, let's just do healthier things. And then when we get ready to like finally like track our calories, because it takes a while to build up to it to do it sustainably, we'll be in so much better position. It's just about like step by step, you know. So right now we're just in the phase of get to the gym for like a few months and just make that a routine. Because like, you know, should we lose weight now? Absolutely. But we know we're not going to sustain, because we've done it before. We've lost like 30 pounds and we just gain it back and it's not good. So it's like, now we haven't really been losing weight, but we've been going to the gym really consistently. I've been jogging a little bit at the gym. You'd be surprised. I know I'm a big chunker. I've been hitting some jogging at the gym. I've really been trying to get my shit together, and it's just very important. And so when we're ready to take that next step, you know, we'll be there. You know what I mean? It'll be easier to make that next step.
Based on your weight is what basically you're saying, right? And it's insane because this is what people do on the internet. They will find someone that they relate to, and then they will attach themselves to that person, right?
That's true.
Something that we see a lot of times with people that are losing weight, right? They'll make a channel, they'll make videos. People are like, wow, I'm losing weight too. This is so great.
True,
a lot of times, maybe that person starts struggling with losing weight, right? They can't lose weight anymore, but they're still making videos. Those people that will have attached themselves to them.
What's considered overweight for me right now? I think my next goal would be to get to 300 pounds and see where my health is at there. I'm really more focused on getting my blood sugar down more than anything else, because I think that's more important for me right now. So the weight's like is a secondary. Obviously I want to get there, but like the blood sugar reduction is more important to me right now.
We'll start to get upset at that person because they're losing weight, but why aren't you losing weight, right? And then they'll start to get upset because a lot of times, right, when you make videos and they do well, you start to get sponsors, you start to get ad revenue, you start to get all of these different like things start coming to you. And then the people that are actually losing the weight, but that don't have a YouTube channel, get upset about the fact that this person that started losing weight, but now isn't, is getting all of these perks, right? Something that happens a lot. And so, I mean, it even happens with the plus size community, right? It's not something that is super abnormal, sadly. I think it's kind of weird, but it is what it is. Okay, I started all this without having any plan or thinking it would go anywhere, and now I'm supposed to be the face of body positivity or the face of the plus size community. Yeah, it's like people they see something and they attach themselves to it so hard, right? And it's really, really dangerous. This is why, I don't know, when people are like, oh my God, you changed my life. I'm like, dude, no, I didn't. I didn't. I'm just a guy. I'm just a guy that has a lot of flaws, okay? I'm not special. Please, for the love of God, I'm not special, right? Or whatever people want to say. I'm considered too big to be mid-size, but the plus size community says I'm not big enough to have a say in things. Like size charts, I keep thinking, where do you want me to be, and what do you want me to say? Because I really don't know the right things to say anymore. Again, we talked about
that's when you've been hit by that audience capture. When you're like, guys, what do you want me to say? You know what I mean? That's why people get upset with me, but I've been just not. Like, I listen to everything that people say to me, and I take it into consideration, but I don't I'm like, okay. I don't respond to like negative comments because it's just not worth it. And I just sit there and go, okay, I hear what you're saying. Maybe it's valid. Maybe you're just being annoying and obnoxious because you're fucking annoying and obnoxious, you know. And because you can't let yourself. And that's why when I have some takes that you might disagree with, I'm not going to get hit by audience capture. So maybe sometimes I'm unintentionally, you know, doubling down on some takes that might not be amazing. I don't do anything intentionally because I'm not going to be fucking. I'm not going to like, you know, I don't want to be beholden to audience capture, you know. But hey, it is what it is.
This before, but I remember when like that whole thing about like the different sizes of plus size, about like medium fat, infinifat, large fat, extra fat. Like it was, again, just further separating yourself. I don't think is the best idea in the world, but whatever. All this began to affect my mental health. About a year into this, I finally realized that I was getting into a darker place, that my binge eating was starting to get worse, that I needed help. And I was like, I want to take a break from social media, but I can't. I need to post every day. I know it might sound ridiculous if you're someone that doesn't really post on social media like that, but if it is your job, regardless of if you think it's a job or not, you do have to be consistent with it, because if you're not, it will die. Want to know how I know? Because I barely post anymore. And if you look at my Instagram, basically dead. But moving on. Growing up, my parents always told me that I needed to lose weight. My dad would offer me money to lose weight in a fun way. Okay. Like, if you lose this amount of weight by this time, I'll give you this much money. Sometimes he'd say things like, you're never going to get a boyfriend if you don't eat slower. My mom grew up with people telling her that she had to be skinny, and you know, so interesting. Like good advice could be to eat slower. Like, here's a really good idea. Like, if you're struggling with your eating, have your vegetables, have like one or two servings of vegetables, first. And then after you have those vegetables, wait 10 minutes and then start eating. And then have the rest of your meal. It sounds dumb and silly, but like realistically speaking, like you'll start to get a little fuller first, and then like, you know, you slow down your eating, and like that's kind of like not a bad way to operate with it. What did I just get hit by? Was always on a diet because she was always on a diet. It was almost a fun thing we did together. Okay, well, that's you. In 2019, I was super stressed at work. I had a roommate at the time, and at some point, I started coming home from work late. I would order food, close my door, turn off my phone, sit in my room, and just eat. I think a lot of us can relate to that.
True.
And then after, I would cry about it because I would eat such an extreme amount. It got a little better when I was living with my family during.
It's crazy, man, because that's like it's so interesting because like I think for a lot of fat people, a big source of their unhappiness comes from the fact that they're fat. right? Of course. And so you'd think like, well, why are you eating so much? And it's because in the short run, that eating is usually like a coping mechanism that makes you feel better initially. It makes you feel better in the short term. So you're like, well, I know it'll make me feel better. And when you eat that whole pizza or you eat that, whatever that comfort food is, you feel so good right then and for a little bit after. But then like it goes away and you're like, damn. It's like, damn, you know what I mean? And when you do that, because you're inevitably going to do that, it's okay. Like, don't fall off your diet, because that's what happens with big people too. Is like they're trying to diet and then they do like bad for a day, and then they're like, oh fuck, I messed up now, so I might as well just not care. And like you start to spiral. So
COVID, but then I moved back to the city, started living alone again, and it just got worse and worse. During my first year of TikTok, I just let myself go. In a way, I literally only cared about how videos were doing. I didn't have a full team. I just had my agents. I was managing things by myself, and I had no time to work out, to do therapy, or to watch an enjoyable TV show, to go for a walk, to eat at the right time. So I would just binge at night. Now,
true. That's another thing too. When people try not to eat at all, a lot of times what will happen is they won't eat anything during the day. And then they're like, I did so well today. And then they just start binge eating at night. You're like, I had 1,000 calories today for breakfast and lunch all together. Oh, wow, I have so much more. And then for dinner, like I got to have a big dinner. So then you start making your 1,000 calorie dinner. Let's say you're at 2,000 calories, but then you start snacking while you eat, and it just gets so bad. And it takes a while for you to feel full. So you just keep eating because you think like, oh, I can eat more. I'm not full. And then you fuck yourself.
What it's like to be busy. I had times where I had 2 jobs and stuff like that, right? But I think that this is a little victimization. I think that I understand that things can be hard when it's new, right? When you're in transition period, but you can usually find time to work out, right? Like I know people that are much busier than me, that have children and have all of these other responsibilities that are able to find time. So I've always said if something is very, very important to you, you can usually find the time to do that thing, right? And so usually it's not like there's just literally no time in the day, right? You don't need, in my opinion, you don't need extra time to make a better choice of a meal, right? Even if you're ordering out, you don't need extra time to pick the healthier option, right? The option that has a little bit less calories. But that's besides the point. I'm kind of getting off track. Okay. So in summer of 2022, I checked myself into an eating disorder treatment center. Every day would start with sessions, art therapy, body image, nutrition, and then you'd have a meal together. Everyone had different food because everyone had different eating disorders. They did this thing where before you ate, you'd go around the room and rate your hunger and anxiety level, and talk about your intentions for the meal. My intentions are that I might eat this MF. That's how I would answer the questions. You take 3 deep breaths and then you'd eat. Eating together was the most helpful part for me. My binging always got worse when I was alone. Yeah, when I struggled with binging, I never did it in front of anyone, right? It was always when I was at home alone in the dark. Everyone was asleep already. That's when it would happen, right? The majority of people that stay at treatment center for months and months until they get way better. I gave myself 6 weeks. By the end of that time, I knew I wasn't ready to leave, and they wanted me to stay longer. They told me you can't really just take a break and come back. But I was leaving for Europe for work the next day, and while I was at the center, I couldn't have my phone. I actually like that, but posting on TikTok is my business, so I told myself I had to get back to work. I kind of didn't have a choice. Yeah, during the first couple of weeks out of treatment, I was feeling okay. I thought, wow, this must have worked. But then I went...
Ditch the zero sugar. What's happening right now? My game soft lock? You're kidding me. Incredible. So yeah, somebody said in the comments like to ditch the 0 calorie or the 0 sugar energy drinks and stuff. Or not energy drinks. I'm sorry, like drinks in general. I kind of disagree with that, and the only reason I disagree with that a little bit is because those sugar-free type of things, or like let's say a Diet Coke, it's gonna probably be better to drink water. But for fat people, clearly, if you're binge eating sugary foods, it's because you have like some level of affinity or addiction or something for sugary snacks. And that Diet Coke can actually help satisfy that. It can actually help satisfy that that craving, right? That's something that's very important, right? So like that's why like sometimes it's not a bad thing to have like that Diet Coke, because it'll help. Maybe that might actually make you not want to eat ice cream. I know it sounds silly, but
went to all these fashion weeks, and while I was there, I realized literally no one cared about inclusivity. Yeah, it's usually how brands work. Like, yeah, we totally care, and then you get behind the scenes and you're like, oh, they don't actually care. But it is what it is. I was scanning each show to see who brought out plus size models or had any diversity whatsoever, and there was barely anything. Yeah, that's how it be. I remember being in Paris at parties and events and being struck by the realization that I am the biggest girl around, the only larger person in the room. Period. I thought, why am I here?
Period.
Why not?
Period.
That's why. Right?
Period. Period.
When you leave the center, you're supposed to have a therapist and an eating coach to meet with back home. I never did that. I still have never done that. Maybe you should do that. And by the time I got to New York, once I got back to a reality a little bit, I slowly started binging again. I'll never know the exact reason why I relapsed, but I will say it's hard being a bigger woman in fashion. There was a moment during...
Yeah, I could see that. I mean, like, I'm sure there's a factor of, like, people who... Like, listen, the people in fashion are probably dickheads that, like, value thinness to a degree. Which, I mean, again, it makes sense to value being thinner or healthy weight. Being thin isn't necessarily healthy, depending on how thin. But they're probably assholes to people. You know what I mean? Like, obviously, we know that corporations are more centered around making money. So, like, do you think that they actually give a fuck about having this like fat person there, or do you think it's more like they make money off of it? They're like, oh, we know we could capitalize off of, like, seeming like we're inclusive, and so maybe she relapsed because of that, man.
At Fashion Week, where I was trying to not cry because I was going down these stairs and there was like a million stairs at the Revolve Gallery or something, and my knee kind of went out. That's not good. And I just felt so frustrated and heavy kind of walking down the stairs, just thought, I'm almost hurting my body. Yeah, I mean, weight has consequences, right? I'm supposed to be promoting self-love, but I'm not going to pretend I love my body all the time, which is what I'm expected to do. I don't like being called body positive vibes. I can't really say, wow, social media ruined me. I was in a worse place before I was on TikTok, and I do feel like social media has done more good than harm. I think this is one.
I feel that. Like, getting associated with being body positive is kind of like, it's pretty, like, I get that. It's like cringe as fuck. Like, even me. I know I defend the movement, or I try to, like, recontextualize it and be like, this is what it's supposed to be about. And, like, yeah, there obviously are crazy, so, you know, but it's kind of cringe, especially with, like, over-identifying with shit in general. Just, like, cringe to me.
One of those things that people really struggle with. Like, if you're on social media and you have dealt with some negativity, it's like, well, I don't really want it, because I struggle with this too. Like, there have been positives from social media for me, absolutely, from YouTube, absolutely, but there also has been negatives, and I think it's like, just because you bring up the negatives doesn't mean that you're saying it's all negative, right? It's relative, and there have been negatives and there have been positives. It just is what it is, right? I think that's how most things in life work, right?
True.
Moving on. I feel like I've got a lot of my confidence back. After Paris Fashion Week last year, I went back to making realistic haul videos and tried to stop reading the comments. That's usually a good idea. I have all these people that say I help them, but really they're helping me. But the sad part is the video is blowing up and I'm gaining followers and I'm in a great mood. I understand that. Even my boyfriend said the other day, oh, I hope your video does well. That'll be good for me. I'm like, why? And he goes, because you're in a better mood when they do.
Oh, I was saying, because you make money, baby. Yeah, man. You know, that's like one of the craziest things about doing content is kind of finding like your spiritual, your happiness making the content. It's a big deal. And I feel like I finally found that happiness. Like now with like the restart, there are some things, everybody's gonna have a different relationship with content, and like some things they're all gonna be different. Like some of the things that I like now is that like I have one channel, so I don't have to think about what to put on the main versus all channel, because for some reason that would stress me out. You know, did I put the right thing on here? Did I do the right thing here? I don't feel like, I feel like I can watch whatever I want more. I do fan service, of course, and like watch some things that you guys like, of course. Like I like doing that too, but I don't feel as like as fucking beholden to you know, like I have to talk about a serious topic today. I have to do this because my main channel is all serious topics, and so like, you know, if I have to do like a serious topic, if that's what the channel's about, and it's like it hits a burnout, and so that's like a big reason why I'm like a lot happier now. It's a big part of being a content creator is figuring out like what makes you happy, and not just oh, what makes me happy is that people watch. It's like, no, that's not all it is. A lot of times it's like actually, you know, like what makes you happy is like actually being happy while making the content. You know, and it sounds so silly, but it's a factor.
I want to keep doing what I'm doing. Brands have actually made changes, whether that's putting larger girls on their website, extending their sizes. As for my weight, yes, I'm frustrated by it, but I also don't want to try to lose weight, because this is where it gets a little weird, because that's where I started. That's what started my binge eating in the first place. And I want to get better.
I get that.
That's hard in the fashion world, and now I'm also thinking about my followers.
That makes perfect sense to me. So she's saying that she doesn't want to focus on losing weight because that's what started her binge eating. Like, I think to a normal person that comes off as like, oh, this person doesn't want to lose weight, like what an idiot. But that's not what it is. It's more of like they don't want to have the focus on losing weight. They want to, like, that's how I interpret it, because I'm going through that. I don't want to focus on losing weight. I want to focus on eating healthier and moving more, and that will come with it. When you obsess about losing weight and that becomes your priority, and you don't see that scale go down, it fucks you up, and it makes you like have bad binge eating protocols because you were so focused on losing weight. You need to lose weight. Like, I'm not saying don't lose weight. I'm just saying that like try to have a better relationship with it and more realistic goals. Because you want to know what? Let's say you start working out and you work out for 2 months and you started and you were 300 pounds, and after that 2 months you're still 300 pounds. You're like, wow, I failed. Did you? So let's say if you were going to the gym a half hour every day, 5 days a week, did you really fail? Or did you just create like a really good new habit that's going to help you be healthier overall? Your heart health is going to go up. Your physical wellness is going to go up. You're going to have a better protocol with dealing with your anger, because that's what that's what working out does for me. It helps me like stress release. You still need to make more work, but like value that progress of just getting to the gym consistently is really big. You know, when you first start going to the gym, like I always say, like don't worry about what you're doing. Just worry about doing. Get there and just walk for 20 minutes. Even if you're not doing a whole lot, do that for 3 or 4 weeks. Just get into the gym, get comfortable with the surroundings, feel it out. That's really important. You're building for, you're not just building for tomorrow or next month or next week. You're building for next year, for the next 10 years. So like just getting into the gym is a huge deal. Like just doing that consistently, like actually working out, you know, that's more important in like the short term for developing good habits than like instantly losing weight is, right? That's what you really want to do. That's really what it comes down to. Because if you're losing weight and you're just eating like shit, like does it really help you that much? You know?
What would I do if I lost all this weight or if I gained more? It's about me, but it's about everyone else too. That last part right there really speaks to me, right? Genuinely, right? Like saying I want to lose weight, or I don't want to lose weight, but also you kind of do, right? It's like, I feel that these negative effects of my weight, right? The knee problems and whatever else is going on. And then like genuinely feeling like you can't because you're
dude, it's not just knee problems too. Like if you're diabetic, like your toes feel weird. Let me tell you something. This is crazy. I'm a diabetic, so I'm not completely numb in any of my extremities, but like I will get numbness, and it'll be different levels of numbness depending on like, you know, how bad I've eaten the past couple of days. The other day I went to the gym, right? And while I was at the gym, my toes started to like feel like pins and needles, and I'm like, fuck, how is this happening? I'm working out, and I feel like my blood sugar's going up. Because like that's not, you're not supposed to feel the pins and needles. I got home and I was really worried, so I did my blood sugar. My blood sugar was actually in a really good spot. It wasn't amazing, but it was better. I'm like, wait, what? I think what actually happened is that I started to feel more sensation in my toes. But it's like you feel that all the time, you know? And like one of the things too is like sometimes when my blood sugar's high, I don't feel my finger getting pricked when I prick my finger to test my blood sugar. But when it's lower, I can feel it more. It's crazy, but you feel these effects on your body. You feel like shit. Like nowadays, like I'll eat poorly and I'll feel like fucking dog water. I went and got myself sushi, not brown rice sushi, the other day, and I was sick for a day because like too many white carbs. And it's like, wow, you know, you really got to keep in mind these things. But you really feel it in your body, man, and it doesn't make you feel good. I tell you, you'll feel better after starting to exercise and shit.
With BED, I disagree with that. I do think that it's going to make it probably a little bit more difficult, and it's going to be scarier, right? If you've never dealt with BED, you might think that sounds ridiculous. Oh, losing weight is scary, but it can be, right? If you are struggling with relapsing and being afraid of that happening, it can be scary. But truly, if you're watching, right? If you're listening, I truly believe you can do it. If it's something that you actually want to do, you're going to have to find the time to eat a little bit better, make better choices, maybe go to the gym or just go on some walks or something.
Yeah,
like
going on walks
you're
really
going to have to find that time. I don't know when it is. Maybe you have to wake up a little bit earlier. I don't know what the answer is for you specifically.
Start with like start with at least 20 minutes of walking every day and just do that for like 3 weeks, whether it's outside or at a gym, and then move on and do the next step. And get it up to the half an hour. Take your time, you know?
I'll say I do absolutely believe that you can do it. It's the first thing that I want to say. The other thing that I want to bring up, and this is something that I've talked about before, it is crazy, and she brings it up herself, that she is genuinely almost afraid to lose weight because she doesn't know what it will do to affect her social media following, right?
That makes sense.
That is a very new thing that has started happening.
Yeah, that's going to be like an exclusive issue with like influencers, and that goes across the board where you get hit with that audience capture. It's like, damn, if I lose weight, what happens? And part of me sometimes thinks like, not from a social media perspective, but like this is another thing too for a fat person. It's like I've been fat my whole life. Like, what is it going to mean for me when I'm not fat anymore? Like, how am I? It's going to, like, you know what I mean? Like, it's almost becomes part of your identity unintentionally. Like, I didn't want it to be, you know, but it's like, damn, what do I do from here? Like, can I be Papa Gut anymore if I'm not fat, you know? But at the end of the day, you know, it's just something I think about. You know, I'm probably never going to get like super skinny, but I do want to lose weight and get healthier, you know? I need to.
Happening.
Who's the guy in the video? Obese to Beast.
And I don't have the answer for it, but I just want to point it out because I've been talking about this for a long time, and now people are actually being honest about it and saying, nah, that's actually how I feel, right? That's actually a worry that I have. That's actually something that's going on in my mind. Because I've always said, it might not be something you're actively thinking about, but it's in the back of your mind without you even realizing it, right? It seems like it's something that she realized. I don't have the answer for that. I wouldn't even act like I have the answer for that. But I do think that it's interesting, and it's something that we should be paying attention to. But that's the whole article. I really wanted to share it with you. I'm curious what you guys think. What are your thoughts about it? Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? I'm just kind of curious. But thank you guys so much for watching the video, and I'll see you next time. Peace.
Yeah.
30 years.
I like that video. It was fun. I like watching his content sometimes because like he has like an intelligent take when it comes to being fat, you know? It's always the people who used to be big that lose weight that like have better takes on being fat.
I want Papa Gut to pee on my face, but just as a friend. There's nothing weird about that. I want him to pee on my face.